What's happening, guys? Another Sunday scan coming at you. This time it is for June 14th, which happens to be Flag Day and my birthday. Hopefully we have a solid week, just like we finished off last week. There was some crazy opportunities, between Clove completely doing the, complete 180 off the highs to some of these unwinders, as well as even some of these thinner style breakouts that just kept on going, trading 100, 200 million shares. I mean, there's still endless opportunity. And, every time we have a little bit of a pullback in the market, everybody's like, what inning are we in? What inning are we in? Are we almost there? Is it almost done? Is it going to slow? And then you have a week like this week, and it's like, holy crap, things are just starting to heat up again. So, there's a lot of different things that are going on. There's a lot of things that I need to improve on, including getting long more. I've been going long a lot of things, but just not heavy conviction, because it's not where my comfort is. I'm getting there, I'm seeing the trades, but I still need to improve on just believing in that volume, believing in that trend, and letting it work, because that's the style market that we're in right now. So once again, I think that letting things exhaust is extremely crucial. And we all want to get the top. We all want to have that big unwind, that big fade. But they know that too. And, anybody that's behind particular moves, they know exactly what you want to see. They know exactly what's going to make you think that it's over. And that is why it's so crucial to let everybody kind of start to get, worked out, and then pick up the pieces when it fades. And I think that's probably the most important piece, especially on something like NOVN on Friday. Was a fantastic opportunity. We talked about it pre-market, and I said, this is actually pretty good news, but the volume for the gap was relatively low, a couple 100,000 shares, and then it's kind of flipped to 1 million. It started to walk down, then it flipped to 2 million, 5 million, 10 million, and the pace at which it started to flip, going from 5 to 10 to 20 to 50, that was the tell. And we talked about that pre-market, about the fact that maybe this could be a nice little trap and squeeze out before the kind of full day unwind. And the other note that I made on that was the fact that after it did exhaust out, it was just a straight line down, right? Anytime that it's a straight line down, I want to be covering into the weakness. I don't care about 12. Right? I don't care about holding all day until the end, because there's been no reason for anybody to cover. And so as soon as there is, it's going to start to curl, it's going to ramp up. Everybody's going to say, I'll wait. Pulls back a tiny bit and then ramps back up. And you saw exactly that. It was probably a $1.50 off the lows. So fortunately, I had no part in that end of day move, but it's a good reminder that, if the fade ends up being easy, just like any other name, if the short's too easy, you probably want to be one step ahead on the cover, because as soon as it gives that reason for people to cover, it's already too late. So that was one thing that I used there. And, I'll touch upon, once I go to the screen, I'll show 2 examples on both the daily and the intraday. Something that happened on UPST and NOVN that I want you guys to kind of see and at least be prepared for. We were super prepared for it in the room. I was going through it, walking through it step by step, discussing the 1770 sellers. If you look back on the daily chart, or excuse me, the intraday chart, but you want to expect that they might pull that offer. And if they pull that offer, if it's got a ceiling, right? They might say, you know what, we're going to pull the offer, let everybody stop out, and then come back in. That's the move that I like to prepare for, and that's the move that catches everybody. That's why we call it the stuff move, right? Because everybody says, oh boy, we're going higher, and gets out. That's their exit. Watch that volume bar, watch that action, and then wait for the confirmation. And if 770s becomes heavy again, you know that that's exactly what they did, because at the end of the day, they're like, you know what, screw these guys. They're shorting against us, shorting against us. We're trying to sell. There's somebody else in here. You know what? We'll screw them. Pull the offers, stop everybody out, run the stops, and then bam, comes back in. And that's exactly what happened on NOVN, as well as on a bigger picture kind of time frame, UPST, where we pretty much run stops on all the shorts. So the last point that I wanted to make before I get into the questions was, once again, my sole focus is 2 names in this market. I'm trading more. Sometimes I trade 10 to 12 names a day. But I'm not sizing into every single one. If you do that, one of them is going to get away. One will get away, and it's going to ruin your day, even if you have other great trades going. The key for me, if I'm trading more than 2 names, is the other names are just kind of, they're slow, steady, they're working, and they're like your paycheck, type trades. They're solid risk reward. You're letting that winner work. You got on the right side of it, and just kind of got to manage it. But the other 2, I always pick 2 focused names, and that's where I put all my energy. That's where I put all my focus, so that I can really size in accordingly and really get the best bang for the buck out of each of those 2 names. Now, sometimes I put a lot of energy into a potential trade, which it doesn't pan out. It doesn't happen. It doesn't set up, right? So that is the downside of only picking 2, but at the same time, it's really about zoning in and focusing, and over time, it will compound extremely well. And that's what really you need to kind of focus on. It's not about tomorrow. It's not about the next day. It's about, what strategy is going to produce long-term gains for you. And if you think firing on, all these different names is going to work well for you, I mean, it might for a little while when the market's hot, but at some point it will catch up and it will just keep on, you're just going to bleed out. So just be cautious of that. So anyway, some of the questions that you guys sent in, I asked yesterday on Twitter, any questions for today. So I just wanted to go through those and answer some of the questions that did come in. So the first one was, you mentioned you were trying to get better at holding swings like UXIN, PFMT, PDSB, etc. I think many of us struggle with, which I think many of us struggle with. Do you ever experiment with new strategies such as Qualmaggy's method of selling a quarter or a half into strength and trail the rest on a 10-day? Not necessarily that exact strategy, but typically if I'm anticipating a big breakout on a move, on a swing trade that I took, and it happens, then I typically lock some in, yes. And what that does is, 1, it takes the emotional side out. 2, it brings down the risk a little bit. And 3, it gives you that little padding to let these things work. Even if it starts to pull back, whatever. It's okay because you've already locked some in. And then you can use the overall chart as your guide to risk. What I think a lot of people do, especially when I take a big picture idea, the next day, say it's down 20, 30 cents. I get a lot of PMs like, hey, what's your plan? What are you thinking? Are you still long? Are you this? Are you that? The way that I size into these swing trades is based off the daily chart. I start in, so I'm not going all in on the first entry. Give it some wiggle room, looking at the daily, not intraday. I don't care if it pulls back, 20, 30 cents. That's not what a swing trade is. The swing trade is not a micro type of trade that you're taking. It's a macro view. It's a big picture idea. So if you're staring at it intra-minute, then you're not letting it do what it's supposed to be doing. And the whole idea was a bigger picture, macro, let it work for you type of trade. So when you're micromanaging it, you're just going to get stopped out, and you shouldn't have taken the trade in the first place if it wasn't more of a macro viewpoint. So yes, I do sell a quarter or a half into any of the first big rips. Sometimes it's way too early. You saw me on gray. It started to rip after hours up like $2 real fast. Yeah, I'm selling half because, we're in a crazy market. There's been plenty of times where it goes up $2 and comes right back down. And then there's also times that it goes up $2 and then goes up another $2. So there's never a perfect way to sell these things. You're always going to screw it up, and just get used to it. But I'd rather be out of a trade than wish I was out of a trade, right? It's better to wish you were in than wish you were out. And I think that I think that's super, super important, because a lot of people, get that FOMO. They wish they were in a particular trade. They make a bad decision. They oversize. They do all these different things, and then they end up wishing like, I wish I left this one alone. So always stick to your game plan. If it starts to do what you expected, if you expected it to ramp up to, in this case, UXIN, I thought it might be a good swing trade, and potential for 3 to 4. Well, it went 3 to 4. Yeah, sure, it kept on going, but I was thinking 3 to 4. So why wouldn't I be exiting into the trade that I anticipated, the trade that I was expecting? And then, yes, you keep a flyer and let it work. The next question was, do you continue to scale up month by month, year by year, or have you reached a point where you're comfortable and feel no need to keep pushing for more? So I think this is all a very personal decision based on who you are and what type of trader you want to be, or what you're trying to do with your trading career. I think it's a good question, and for me, I'm always looking to continue to press to the best potential with the least risk, the least stress, the least headaches, and if I could have made a bunch more, but I would have had a crazy headache and it wasn't worth the stress, it's not worth it to me. So I think that, there's been a lot of opportunity that if I did, swing a little harder this year, yeah, it would have definitely paid off in a much better way. But at the same time, there's been situations where I haven't been crazy size and I've been dead wrong. And, that saved me. It saved me from being super, super stressed or wasting a ton of money that I didn't need to waste. So not to say that I haven't done that. I mean, I have, AMC was a choppy trade for me. And, fortunately got a good piece of the backside, but that doesn't mean anything for the front side if you're going to chop yourself and be stressed about it and all that. So, yes, I continue to find ways to scale what I'm doing, but in a smarter way, better way, and what it comes down to, and it always comes down to, is it's risk. So as long as you are staying within means, as long as your max draw you're okay with, then fine. Then you're doing the right thing. The only thing that's going to take you out of the game is not having a risk, not giving yourself that stop out, and that takes away the opportunity that you've created for yourself, right? So it's just so important to keep your money. You're not going to always win at all, but there is a point where you need to stop and protect your capital, because if you don't, you're not going to have any opportunity at all. And that's what happens to a lot of traders, right? And you get the FOMO and then you end up with a 50% loss, or you short something, you think it can't go up higher, and it doubles or triples or whatever, and you're left with no money. So yes, I continue to try to scale in the best manner possible. Yes, it's a continual learning curve. Even on the swing side, I'm trying. Look, there's a lot of money on the swing side, on the longs. There's a lot of money on longs, more so than on the shorts. Shorts, in my opinion, I feel like kind of fund the long ideas, the bigger picture long ideas, and you just can kind of rotate that into these long ideas, and then that's where you really compound a lot of gains. So if you're a good short seller, that's a good way to get that instant gratification, build that the account, to then roll it into longer trade ideas and things like that. So next question was, thanks for all the help. It's inspiring to watch you daily with how well you're organized, active trading community, IU, family, charity, FinTwit, and a lot of humor in tweets. If you can briefly walk through your routine for the day. So I'll go through my perfect routine when I'm trading the best, just because sometimes it fluctuates a little bit, but I always try to get right back to this, right? So for me, what I've noticed is I need to just be me in the morning. I can't. I like to say hi to my kids and hang out with them for a little bit, but if I have to watch them in the morning and I'm in a trade and then I do something else and I start bouncing around, then for me it could be that one time I go and play or go do this and go do that I end up on the wrong side of a trade, and that sets the tone for the morning. So for me, I like to get up early. If I end up getting hang out with them or saying hi to my wife or taking a walk, whatever, I don't want to be in positions, because if I'm in positions, then I end up in a situation, where, You know, like I said, it could set the tone negatively for the day. So in a perfect situation, I get up and maybe I do the Peloton or something in the morning. That's perfect situation. But at least take a walk. I like to be on desk right around 7 a.m. just in case sometimes I have swing trades. I want to see, all right, is there any action at 7 a.m. with E-Trade opening, things like that. Then if it kind of settles down and I haven't taken a walk, I'll take a walk right after that. Then I come back and try to get a fine tune what I'm going to be trading for the day. What are the best opportunities for the day? Might be 5 to 8 of them, right? Maybe even 10. Okay, and categorize them. So now these are going to be my top 2 watches. These are the ones that I'm going to size in today. And then these other couple, maybe it's 2 or 3 more for secondary watches later on. And then the other ones I'll set price alerts. That's what I do during that time. Then towards like 8:30, 8:50, I start to kind of prepare and zone in and make my game plans. And so that 8:50 a.m. is when I grab the microphone for the members and I go over exactly what I'm looking to trade, exactly the levels that would interest me and why. And then I try to, so I kind of segment the morning from 7 to 8 a.m. I might take a trade there, and many times I do. But I don't want to turn a 7 a.m. trade into an 8:30, 8:40, 8:50 type trade. I typically like between 7 and 8, leave it alone, let them trap between 8:20, 8:30, 8:50, and then blow it off into the open, right? If you're starting to fight, if you're on the short side, 8:20, 8:30, 8:50, that could throw you off for the open. And where normally you'd react right out of the open and take that trade, you're like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, off the open instead, and again, it throws you off for the day. So typically, if there's reactive trades, if there's A-plus setups, I'll take them off the open. And that's something, you got prepared for, it did what you thought, you're going to react to it, bam, done. If not, wait for 9:45, 10 a.m. plus. 9:45, 10 a.m. plus, all the craziness starts to kind of slow down a little bit and things start to take on a trend. You never know off the open when a newsletter is going to buy or, there's going to be a particular tweet that could completely throw everything off. Completely. It could be at the lows and then bam, right back up because one person tweets or one person alerts in their chat and it completely changes the trend. So that happens a lot off the open. So you got to be cautious. And then just go through the day, manage stuff. I typically only like to take trades later on in the day if you've got some type of big action. Huge volume, some type of parabolic move, nice breakdown of trend. Once the volume starts to kind of slow down a little bit and all this craziness kind of slows down. And just watch for any outlier type moves. Big moves, if they pull back towards 3, I might be interested 2 to 3 p.m. on dips. If things are starting to break out like crazy pre 3:30 p.m., might be a premature breakout. So a lot of times I'll look for an exhaustion move prior to 3:30 p.m. to be able to take advantage of. 4 p.m. I try to get off the desk right away because you don't want to trade after hours. Maybe 9 times out of 10 you make money after hours, and then that one time you do something silly and you're there until 8 p.m. You ruined your night and you gave back the other 7, 8, 9 times that you made money after hours. So for me, that's not worth it, and that's just my opinion. And then you got to do family time, and that's something that I always need to work on because it's so easy to make work your life. And for me, I really tone down all the after hours stock type stuff. I try to just focus on family and all that kind of stuff, and then do my scan for a period of time at night. Otherwise, you could be doing it all night, and it's not worth it. It starts to control you. Last couple questions. Oh, and bed by 10 p.m. is perfect because it allows you to get up in the morning. The later you go, it's harder to get up in the morning, and it's easier to be productive the earlier you get up. I'd love to get up at 5 every morning, and I was when I was actively working out with Zach, which I need to get back to doing when I used to go. But then the market got crazy, COVID happened, all that stuff. So I hadn't been for a while. But But it's really important to do that. And also, if you tend to like your drinks during the week, maybe shut that out. Just shut that out and see what it does to your mornings. You'd be impressed with your ability to just, get right up. Will you be attending any trader conventions this year? We are planning to do Traders for a Cause in October, so hopefully we'll see a lot of you guys there, and we'll have more information about that extremely soon. So, next piece is going to be about UPST and NOVN. I want to go over that real quick, and then we'll get right into the scan. All right, so second part is where I go over my scan for the week, and again, I'm not a financial advisor. These are not buy or sell recommendations. If you're looking for that, you're in the wrong place. This is for educational and informational purposes only. If you're not okay with that, turn the video off. If you're okay with that, then I hope you learn a lot, and I hope that it helps you prepare for the week ahead. First and foremost, as always, if you guys leave a comment, leave the timestamp. And whatever your key takeaway is, share it with us, share it with others, because it allows people to go back and click it and see it and hopefully learn from it. Maybe they watched the video and it just went over their head. They go back, they rewatch it, they saw what you wrote, and it's an aha moment for them, and it checks a box and it helps maybe make them a better trader. So what you guys are doing is helpful to not only yourself, but me as well as others. We also turn them into little videos. So I hope you guys are enjoying those. And because you guys do that, if you leave a comment, like the video, you're automatically entered every single week. I try to pick different people randomly. This week, Byron Rodriguez, you got the free t-shirt, and Blake Ferguson, you've got a free month of IU. So that's this week's free stuff that we're giving away. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we gave away Icon meals, and I just got an email from him, and he is absolutely in love with them. Scans we gave away last week, which is one of the scanners that I use. So we're always giving away free things for those that just show up every Sunday and watch these things and leave comments. So at some point, if you watch these and leave a comment every single time, everybody will end up having something one day. All right. So, like I said, NOVN and UPST, I wanted to go over a key thing I think that you guys should at least be prepared for and throw it into your kind of trading arsenal, because it happens all the time, and I have to remind myself not to try to find the top, not to get aggressive unless this happens. And if it does happen, then usually it is the best unwind after that. So I went over all of this live in the room. I was explaining it and what was the importance here, comparing different examples, and I call it kind of pulling the goalie, right? So what happens is you can obviously see, and I pointed this out in the room as it was happening, and you can see that they're selling into each wick, right? So typically on the daily charts, we look for weak opens and then comes back. Weak open, come back. Weak open, come back. And we talk about those wicks. That's what I look for swing trades on the long side, right? Big volume, consolidates, and then each time there's little wicks that keep on buying it up and buying it up and buying it up. That shows that a buyer came back into the tape. On the flip side, if you were to flip those wicks, you've got a situation here where you've got a seller sits back, seller sits back, seller sits back. So you can clearly see that they are selling into this action right here. They're selling into the 1770s, which gives me conviction to short, right? It gives me conviction to get in there and get short. That's okay, but you have to be cautious, because a lot of times they, what I call, pull the goalie, right? They pull it right out, let everybody stop, freak out, come back down, slams back under that level, and then they refresh. They put the goalie back in the ceiling, whatever you want to call it, okay? So you can see that they're unloading the farm, and I noted that. I noted that in the room, like, hey, take note, there's a seller here. But be cautious until they test the stops. Because what they do, if you think about it, they're like, okay, we're selling hard, all right, wait a minute, we only got partial fills, somebody else is here. Somebody else is having a field day selling, so it's shorts. All right, we'll pull all our sells out and rip it through that level, and then guess what? We create our own exit, right? Because they know they've got competition up there for the sells. And if it's not them, then it's probably shorts. So run the stops, squeeze them out, slam it back, and then resell. And at that point, that was the top for the day. And it continued to fade out from there. So easy part is just wait for it to fail to follow through. It's the hardest thing, right? Because we all want to catch the top. But the best thing you can do is just wait for it to break under this prior support, which was the 17. So yeah, you maybe miss out on 70 cents. So what? At least you don't get run over if it goes to 18, 20, 22, you know, something like Clove. Clove did the same thing here. Clove did the same exact move, and it ended up trapping like crazy. And let's see if we can do it over here. So you can see, you know, you've got huge seller right here, but sometimes they can catch. So you always want to see them break under that support level. And this is where 17 would have saved you, right? Instead of just shorting because you see the seller, obvious seller here, right? Slams back down, reclaims. Obvious seller here, slams down, keeps on getting saved. So you have to be obviously cautious in that situation because, yeah, there's a huge seller. Yes, it's obvious. But what if they pull the goalie? What if it's just them setting that trap? And so on the flip side, if you look at it on a daily chart, you've got the same situation, right? You've got this, we are always talking about this 165 level. This 165 was the prior breakout level. And then they finally ramp it through. And once it gets back under, guess what? It's heavy. So if you're anticipating it to be the top, and they do, they're kind of topping it at 165. They blow out all the stops, and guess what? We're into the 120s, 129. So this is on a bigger picture time frame, a daily chart instead of intraday, but same concept. So the point here is cautious getting super aggressive on the front side of the move, wait for that exhaustion, wait for them to run the stops, and then look to pick up the pieces on the backside. And I think that's such an important thing, especially when we're in a new kind of, it's totally new to even me, the types of moves that are happening, and it's super thin on the front side. AMC and all these other ones, it's Clove. I mean, these are very, very difficult trades if you're shorting the front side of the trade. So anyway, let's get right into it for the week ahead. And again, like the video, share a comment, anything that kind of makes sense and hit home for you today, and let me know. So let's get into it. NOVN, higher the better. And quite honestly, I would love for this thing to hold. It had over 120 million shares, whatever it was. It very easily could continue to hold. And this was a very easy to borrow name. And so with that said, we could have a failure to deliver. We could have a T+2 type of move. So with that said, if Tuesday, Wednesday starts to go, I want to be long. I want to be there for this potential breakout. I think there's a good chance that they sold a bunch of paper on Friday, but it got absorbed. There was a lot of volume. So if we pull back tomorrow and we're just kind of hanging around and we end up holding the 1370s again, take note. Maybe we go to 1370s, 1350s, comes back. And then on Tuesday, we go back, retest those lows, and it holds. If it starts to form lows at prior levels, I want to take note because then we can have that potential squeeze. And again, it was super easy to borrow. It's not a super thin name, but it trades very thin. So I think there's a lot of institutional holders, and I think that there's a lot of retail shorts in this thing right now. No real reason to cover, you know, into the close. Yeah, it came back up a little bit and it squeezed out probably the smaller accounts, but there's a good reason that there's still a lot of shorts on this name. So if it holds, pulls back the next couple days, but holds the overall trend, 1350, 1370, something like that, I'm interested for a potential breakout. If it gaps up a lot tomorrow, I'd be looking for a potential fade. SENS, I'm not sure exactly when, but they are due for an FDA decision here. So the trade here is let this thing rip. I'm going to fine tune, kind of figure out a little bit more of when this should be expected. But I think that if this continues to break out, take VXRT, for example, on Friday. You know, if we start to get some crazy move and it goes straight up, and then we have an opportunity like this on SENS, you know, I'm going to be all over that. And I absolutely love the idea of a potential, you know, intraday breakout. Maybe we go 520s. I mean, maybe something crazy, you know. And if it exhausts out, if it has that huge squeeze out intraday, I'll be looking to scale hard for that potential unwind. But if and when it happens, that's my cover. I don't want to overstay. I don't want to think, oh, well, it should go back to here. No, I want to be able to do a big share, scalp, nail the move on. And just like we've talked about before, move in, move out, move on. And stop trying to trade it. Because as soon as you get a bias here, I think you're going to get grinded. You can see that this is extremely well traded and controlled. You know, you can see you've pretty much got a channel that they were kind of keeping, and you can see that it busted over that level. So it's pretty much hanging out between 380s and 415s. And what do you know? Each time that it was basing, they broke it, kind of trapped again. Base, they break it under. Okay, finally, it broke down. Nope, reclaim. And that's when shorts get trapped. And that's the same stuff that you see in all these other names, where it's like, okay, it's doing everything I need to see for it to unwind. And then, wait a minute, it held, right? So that's what we need to be cautious of. So anyway, I'd be looking for a VXRT style move to take advantage of potentially tomorrow into, you know, 10, 11, or around noon. VXRT, monster trade. Great opportunity. I missed the long side. I put on a little bit early. You know, just I had already lost it off radar. I was going nuts. So I put on a small batch, and I said to the room, you know, just a reminder. It's kind of like a placeholder. I put on a small position just to keep it right here in my positions window so I see it. And because I did that, my eyes were on it. And as it started to go, you know, I got a really nice short off. Scaled short, scaled, and got, you know, a good piece of that. Pretty much all the meat of the move. So that was great. And then the best part is I moved on. You know, I traded a few more times in a smaller capacity, but I didn't try to, you know, milk it for every single cent that I potentially could have gotten out of that, because the volume was huge. So you have to recognize when there's outlier volume. And it was already trading, you know, 40, 50, 60 million shares at the time. So it was tracking for, you know, where it ended up, 100 million shares. So Sava, SAVA, I missed this one on Friday. I was watching it. Great setup here, right? So you've got a nice failed follow through setup. You know, yeah, it'd be nice to get 86s, but what if it went to 90, 92? So you've got a nice pullback here. Don't try to chase it down. Comes back up, it fails. So now fails, pulls back. At this point, I could be anywhere in the 84s, you know, 80, 85, 84, 83s, and I've got basically a risk towards about 86, 85, 50s. I like that. Good risk reward. So anyway, it did come back. It did recover a little bit. I'd be watching any good pops towards 80s. Ideally, we get an 80, 82 push out of the open, and then maybe a fade off towards 75s or something like that. Pretty wild move. It's just been such a slow, almost triple again off the lows, 30 to 90 almost, but basically 40 to 80. But really nice opportunities. The next one's Gray. Gray was great. PGen was great. Couple trades that I made on Friday. Just joining the trends. You know, Gray, PGen, as well as a few others, GBS, and I forget the other one. It started with an A, but we went over them on broadcast. They were the goal of joining any pushes that fail. Push, scale in, each time that it failed. And ended up working out extremely well. So Gray, PGen, and GBS, same deal again. You know, I think these just caught a bunch of momentum. So be aware if they hold trend, but I'd be looking to just kind of join more downside as people don't care about them. I think that there'll be a ton of runners tomorrow, and the eyes are going to go from these ones to, all right, that's moving. I'm going to go watch that one. And when less people are watching them, I think there's a lot cleaner opportunities and nice little unwinds. These are the types that I'm not going to go over here and go XL size and make it my top 2 watches. These are the types where I want to get on the right side of the trade. Let them work. You know, put a stop in if you want. get on the right side, scale in a little bit, put in a stop, let them work while you're finding your two main watches. So the next category is continuation. So continuation is more of the long side, bigger picture, macro style trades, the ones that I kind of let work. Anytime that I'm looking for something that is not, just a scale in, scale out, move on type trade, and more of a, this could actually be a big picture, look at the daily macro view, that's where I kind of put them under the continuation side. So MLLF is going to be game soon. I think maybe Tuesday. I think it uplists anytime now. But I've been there since mid-9s. This was a swing idea in the room. You can see the wicks in there. Somebody's in there accumulating nicely, which is good to see. 1170s was the top for quite some time. It's nice to see that it's over that. But I'm planning on letting this good average work as long as it wants. We've seen a lot of uplist go crazy. So again, this will be GAME. Decent story there. Hopefully there's a good opportunity for continued upside, but so far so good. And again, I'm in mid-9s. I've added to the winner, so I brought that average up a little bit. But this has been an idea in the room for a week and a half or so. Prague went to 4 after hours, went nuts. Good example of the question that I answered earlier. This one went nuts over 4, so I went ahead and trimmed, and I've got small left. Could it have gone to 5, 6, 7, just like gray? Sure, but it didn't. So this one is a win category. It was good to sell some because it went lower. But same thing with gray. Here I am selling which was a swing trade last week, but I was swinging some and sold in the 570s, 6s, and I made it to 7 on the rest, and then it went up to 850. So maybe I didn't win in that category, but either way. Just while I'm doing this, another looking left kind of idea. You can see that there's congestion in this area right here and right here. So good level to use that next day. I always look left. Look for those levels of, I call it like a magnet, but congestion could be a good word too. But anyway, Prague, minimal left. I'd love to see this go, higher and then, fade it back, obviously, just like gray. Crex, I've been watching. You can see the wicks. I'm there, very, very small. I keep on forgetting to buy some. It could fail. It could go right to 180s. That's fine. But I'm there. I started in. And if it starts to break through and get over this prior resistance in the 225 range or so, then I'll be interested in scaling up. Last couple, WKHS. This one had a little bit of a pullback on Friday, then came back. And it actually held pretty well. We could have another $1, $2 upside if this thing wants to. It's holding exceptionally well given the move, and that's how a lot of these things set up. I know it doesn't look pretty yet anyway, but if this starts to base and hold, then it's potential for a breakout. But if it doesn't, and AMC, GME, and all these things don't continue to grind, then this one probably won't either. But Mondays are always good for memes, right? AMC, GME, CLNE. I think CLNE was going nuts on Reddit again. So the weekends, I tend to notice there's always, a lot of hype over the weekend. So, maybe we'll be, waking up to a couple gaps. Meds, I want to keep an eye for a potential liquidity trap situation. We go from 95 million to 3 million, almost 4 million shares. So we've got a potential situation here where if there's a failure to deliver, maybe, it wasn't super easy to borrow, but it was at one firm. If it does not go down more and it starts to stay, strong, I'm interested because it could go and ramp back up towards circuit halts. It's a relatively thin name. Last but not least, TLIS, I put on some as a swing. And nice opportunity for sure so far. And I'd love to scale into it, but I'd need to see it over 1150s base, then 12s, and then into the promised land over 14, something like that. So nice starter for me so far. We'll see what it turns into. Seeb, another one that I had, and again going back to the question that I was asked about how these big picture type trades. So this had some volume. It started to get picked up. So, you can see the wicks. There was a buyer in the tape. So I was buying this earlier in the week. And then it went nuts. It went nuts intraday on Friday. I went into a circuit halt. So what did I do? I sold a good majority of it. I sold half, and then I sold another quarter. So I have about 25% of it left. I don't expect anything crazy out of it, but when you get a move like that, yeah, sometimes it can keep on going. Maybe it keeps on going to 77, just like that ORGN or whatever it was. But it was crazy, and it kept on going, circuit halt, circuit halt, circuit halt. In the rare occurrence that happens, I'd be happier 90% of the time, 99% of the time taking the gains like that. So anyway, that's what I'm prepared for tomorrow. Again, focus on two names only, right? We always want to trade everything. And I do trade a lot of different names, but I only size into two names. And I think that that's something that you've got to understand and focus in on, because if you try to trade everything, you're never going to really focus in the manner that you should. So hopefully we continue to have some great opportunities, just like we did at the end of last week. Again, stay cautious on the front side right now. It is nuts. Personally, my goal this week is to do a little bit better on the long side. I've been getting long, WKHS, CLOV, bunch of nice trades on Friday on the long side, but I could still be more. I could still be sizing in more, trusting things more, because at the end of the day, there's always market risk. But right now, I have to trust the volume more so than any other bias that I might have. But anyway, that's it. And hopefully you guys have a good rest of the weekend. Catch you in the room tomorrow. And that's it. Leave a comment, leave a like, and we'll see you tomorrow.